this week's stream. Last week we finished this project. This week we're going to be moving towards advancing the state of the shop. So currently I have this space cleared out so that I can build a cabinet on which to put a router table. Now the optimal working height for router table is 36 inches according to several sources, and the actual Bosch table part that I want to get is 14.5 inches tall, so we need to make a tabletop that's 21.5 inches high. And I figure if I'm going to build something with legs on the top, why not put a shelf underneath and some walls on it? And if it comes to that, a door as well. So I have here 3 pieces of plywood, just shy of 24 inches this way, a full 48 this way. And I have some rough plans drawn that I'll go over on the camera there later. I've pre-cut 4 21-inch 2x4s for the legs, and then there will be half an inch of plywood on top of that to make it a full 21.5 inches from floor to top. So I'm going to switch cameras. There we go. Alright. Now, what I'm going to do is make 2 walls that are notched thusly. A vertical notch going along the back, for the back wall to go into, and one for the floor to go into. The actual floor will be this shape, because it's going to go around 2x4s that are going to be plugged into the top like so. They're going to go down along here. It's going to look like that. And then the actual floor piece is going to sit partially in, 1/4 inch into the 2x4s. And also it's going to sit inside the walls, and the back will also be notched at the same height for the bottom to sit inside each piece. Now, what I want to start with is notching the legs. And like I said, I've already cut and planed down, well, not planed, well, cut and evened out all of these 2x4s. Sanded them and locked them in place with clamps so that they're all at the same position. Then I'm going to, on the shaper, make a grid. Let me plug the shaper in. So we can position the cuts. Now, in advance, I went ahead and printed when I first designed this a few weeks ago. I went ahead and printed these pieces that are 1/10 in each dimension, the size of the final cabinet, so you can see what the finished wall will look like with the vertical notch and the horizontal notch for the floor and back to go into. And this camera is not cooperating. And they go together like so. with the floor sliding in here, and then the top going on. And you see this notch here in the top and all around, so that this fits over like so, and it just went flying. But yeah, the back of the top will hang over the back to hold it in place, and then each side piece will rest inside this groove on the edge of the top here, with its notch around the back. And this was the original design, and then I later added a notch to the back. And I was going to originally reinforce it by just standing 2x4s upright inside here and then put some along, and the weight would ultimately be on those. The casters would be screwed to those 2x4s going along here, so that weight would be transferred from the top to vertical 2x4 to bottom to horizontal to caster. But now the design has gone through one more iteration since then, and as you saw, the bottom is going to be this plus sign with cutouts for the 2x4s to go straight through, so you have legs going straight down. And that's what these are going to be right here. Speaking of printing things, I finally printed a cover for here, an adapter for the vacuum. So now I won't have to use tape anymore for that. It fits nice and snug. See that? It's good stuff. Alright, I've got to lay down some tape here. So, as per the design, these legs are just shy of 21 inches. They aren't perfect, so I need to make sure that where I put the notch for the floor is a particular distance with respect to the top. The bottom doesn't matter. The height between the notches for the floor, in the legs, the walls, and the back all have to be the same with respect to the top piece of wood. So rather than cutting, so the bottom of the notch needs to be 7 inches from the bottom, but what I'm going to do is make the bottom of the notch lined up with 14 inches from the top. That way, when it's slightly less than 7 on the bottom, that's better than having slightly less than 14 on the top. So I'm going to tape these up. I have them all lined up to make one cut across the whole set all at once, 1/4 inch deep. It's going to be a 0.7 inch wide notch, because the plywood itself all ranges between 0.66 and 0.7 inches. There's actually one that's a bit thicker than the others. See, this one's 0.66, the top one. And then this one down here is probably the 0.7. I'd have to get them apart. I'll do that later. Right now they're just stacked. I obviously will want to get them clear of each other when it comes time to cut them, because otherwise I'm going to be damaging pieces I need for other parts of the cabinet, and I don't want that. So, I'm just gonna... Where did I put that? Oh, move that blade. I want that straight razor. I'm gonna use a straight razor to cut the shaper tape cleanly. That way I don't have one that's ruined at the end, so I don't waste the domino. There we go. Unfortunately, this isn't totally flat. I should have sanded this surface too. They look lined up enough. I'm going to sand this surface too, like I did the ends. And then I'm going to come back with the shaper tape. Get the sander. Get it back in. Alright. Okay, maybe not the vacuum. Just the sander. Okay. Yeah, right here. It's a little high. It needs a bit of help. Smoother, so shaper tape should sit flatter on it now. It's much better. Alright, so I'm just going to tape this up, use the sander, get the vacuum in, so I'm going to need the vacuum for the shaper. Drop the camera. Nine dominoes should get the job done. They're fairly flat. So, now it's just a matter of there we go. Put that aside for later. Okay, now I can pop this back on. It sees the tape. Now it's just a matter of strategizing your cut here. So, back. So we got our tape. We need one end, either the taped end or the non-taped end, to be the top. The other to be the bottom. So I kind of want to cut here watching the tape. So I need this to be the top, so I have to zero out the grid from here. So I'm probably going to want to add more tape, another row or two, just so that when I turn the machine around to touch here and here to form the grid, and then I turn it back around this way to cut, you'll be able to see in both positions. So right now if I put the machine over here, it's not going to see the, let's see. And no tape found. So yeah. Now we gotta go until tape is found here. Create a contiguous. It looks like it already sees it. So one more might be enough. To start the grid. So now we have one contiguous workspace. So we rotate it around again. So now we want to scan. New scan. Start scan. We don't really need a lot here. Finish. Okay. So now we can take it around. So grid. And we want the grid to be, grid size to be 1 inch is good. Plunge depth. Okay, 1/4 inch. Move origin. Okay, so now we got the grid menu up. So we've set it to 1 inch because I don't really need it to be more precise than that for this particular cut. So now we're going to move origin off the edge of your material to allow the spindle to safely plunge to your cut depth. Tap plunge when ready. Okay, and we got our spindle clear. And tap the green to plunge. Now we're just gonna push it until it hits, and we're gonna probe X. Then we're gonna push until it hits, probe X. Then we're gonna go here, and probe Y. Now let's see if we can get it to I want to get it to plunge exactly here and see, but another thing we could do is Z-touch right on the line, actually just past the line, Z-touch, and see if it touches it. Okay, so that's it. That's our Z-touch. So let's see. We're on the line. Gonna plunge and see if it just misses it. Oh, that is perfect. So yeah, the line is perfectly lined up with that. So now we want a 0.7 inch. So we want a line here that's going to be 14 inches from there and slightly less than 7 inches from this, because again it's less than 21 inches. It has to be a rectangle that's anchored to the 14-inch point from here, and it has to be 0.7 inches tall from there. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the shaper, move it on over, back the other way, wrap the cord back this way, now that we have a nice zoomed out view, we can see 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So here's our line right here. And we'll just double count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and it also says it, but it's good to be thorough. It says our X and Y. Our X is 4, our Y is 14. So from here we should be able to make a design, shapes, rectangle, width. Now the width will measure so we need the 6 inch, so we'll make it 6 1/4, so it'll go over both edges, and make it 7 by 0.1. So width 7 inches, height 0.7 inches. And if we place it right here at x3, y14, we place it at 314. Is that even coming up on the screen, or is it blurry? Is this camera picking up anything that close? I don't know if that's readable. I'll have to check later. But I'm telling you what it says, so you just take my word for it, huh? Okay, so we'll just place it and then cut, change it to pocket, and it just so happens that our old scrap wood here, the pine edge board is about the same thickness as our plywood here, so I'll be able to use that piece of scrap wood to test the pocket later. So 0.7, we have it in place. I just want to double check that it's at the right position. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that might be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. No, that's at the correct position. I think. No, I don't know. I'm going to make a slight nick in the wood, not too deep, not the full 1/4 inch, and use that, break out the measuring tape, see if it's the right distance. I'm not going to use offset just yet. We're just going to keep that at 0, even though it has to be 0.04 later to get the full pocket. And then, so yeah, I guess it's time to start cutting. We'll make a nick, a test nick, break out the measuring tape, make something small enough that it won't be a tragedy. Small enough hole that we can just ignore it if it's in the wrong place. And look at how that fits. That's beauteous. Alright, so I've got to do a Z-touch first of all. Okay. Now I had to make sure I did the Z-touch there and not there, otherwise it would have calibrated much lower. We don't want that. We want our 0Z to be the highest point in the wood. So, no further ado, let's make a little nick there. See, we got a little nick there. We got a little cut. So now we're going to take our measuring tape and measure from there, very edge of it. See if it's exactly 14 inches. Let's have it do it the other way, but the shaper's here. Let me just bring the shaper off for a second. Hold it like that. That's gonna fall if I'll put a hand on it here. And you can see 14 inches. Okay, let me get the shaper back on the wood before it falls and breaks. And I'm out money that I don't have. Gotta clean the tape. So, from there, since we got what we need, I think it's safe to say we can do a 0.04, negative 0.04 offset, and let's just double check that that's not going to go too far. See it, so I guess for the see, I've never pocketed with this particular bit before. I only did the cutting here, as you can see. Wait, what's going on? Why isn't the camera working? Okay, this camera has not been working for I don't know how long. Money that I don't shoot the back up. Alright. That's odd. I have to reset it real quick. Hold on. Let me. No. Camera just died. There we go. Camera's back. What a pain. Anyway, so apparently the apparently the 1/8 bit doesn't use a .04 offset. It's probably half that. Then it's probably a negative .02 to get it to go on the line. So let's try that. Come over here and make another little test cut. So as you can see, we got that little nick from the .04. .02 is over here. So that's good. So that's what we want. So now we just got to make it a 1/4 inch deep. I'd say a little more just to be safe. So maybe make it a .26. Yeah, because some of them stick out a little further than others, and I want there to be a little bit of room, but not so much that, because I want the wood also to be making contact. So when I cut out the hole in the floor, the rectangular hole that's going to plug in around and fit into this notch, I want it to still touch the back too, not just the top and bottom. So how nicely that plugs in. So anyway, got a few little wood shards here, huh? Gotta do a little more over here. See, didn't quite get that edge. Came close. Got that edge though, good. Look at that. Look at that track. Across 4 2x4s at once, huh? So we're just gonna finish that out quickly. Pop that in. Vacuum. It's a good thing I made it 7 inches because it didn't give me a lot of extra on that end. Even though I gave myself plenty of extra total, it was a bit off to one side where it's center, so I had to come out all the way to here, but barely got enough actual rectangle to work with here. So now, look at that. That is nice, isn't it? That is 4 nicely notched little 2x4s. 1/4 inch deep. No, 0.26 inches, but hey, who's counting? Well, I am apparently, but there we go. Oh. There we go. 0.26. It depends on where you measure it from. It's 0.26 though, about. Because of the highs and lows here, the caliper isn't totally reliable, but it was giving me 27s, 24s. It's probably 0.26. So now we're going to take a piece of our edge board scrap, jam it in, and look at that. Gorgeous. That's what we're shooting for here. Now this is a little bit thinner, so it'll be a proper tight fit, hopefully, with the actual plywood. And even then, you know, this is just, the floor is just going to rest on the legs. So we got our legs, they're done. That's it. The actual cutting was done in advance, and so now we can move on to designing and cutting out the top. So the top, and we get the pencil. Let's look at the top. That's the top. So first of all, let's erase these lines and these lines, because while those will be separate shapes, I'll have to draw in, because that's a rectangle, that's a rectangle, that's a rectangle, that's a rectangle, and these 4. So there's 7 rectangles that will have to be drawn on the grid. But ultimately, that's what the top will look like, because this and this are at the same level. So there's 2 levels. And we're going to go about 0.2 inches in, so we still have half an inch, because we're going to use the 0.7 inch thick plywood. So we're going to have to measure each for plywoods and see which one is that one. I measured them last night, but mixed them up. So we're going to see which one of these is our 0.7 inch thick plywood, and that's going to be for the top and the bottom. And then we're going to use for the sides and the back the 0.66 and the 0.65. Plans here. Move the shaper. Message. remove the shaper to make cans, and hopefully they don't fall over with the shaper on top of it, because that's, I can't afford for that to happen. That's pretty sturdy. Okay, so we got our blocks. Our big block of legs. Notched and ready to go. Basically a whole 8-foot 2x4 cut up into pieces, although I used 2 because I wanted clean pieces, so I got all that scrap. It was like $3. I'll live. So we can release the clamps. And already the shaper tape wants to fly away. Should I try to salvage these? I don't know. Just put them there for now. And then we got legs. And the legs are going to stand like this. Top will plunge that, will pop down onto here. The bottom will be plugged in here with a bit sticking out past here and there and here and here. And the side notches and back notch will plug into the walls, and the front will just be where the door sits. So the door is going to be in front of here, so I put a hinge here. Door. That's only if I wind up putting a door. That's still optional. I might not. I probably won't. I have enough wood for 6 panels, and I need 5. Top, bottom, back, and sides. If I don't make a mistake, I might make a door. I might not. Either way. Got my legs cut. Just stack them over there. Put away the clamps. Put everything off somewhere out of the way. Caliper, pencil. Let me get the ruler here. Yep, that's 14 inches. Just shy of 7. That's exactly what I was going for. Look at this. This is perfect. Look at this. Isn't that something? So we know this machine cuts with the precision. So let's put things away. The shaper table. Salvage tape off to the side. We need the caliper. So first of all, this plywood, I believe, is not damaged. This one this 0.66. The camera is not showing you that. Alright, so this one is 0.66. So you don't want that one. Just that's for walls. That'll make 2 of 3 walls. This one is 0.68. Looks like. Seven. You can also do the walls. I may have made those notches too thick. This one of them was 0.7. This one? It's also 0.67. Okay, so the notches are a little wide. It's a pretty slim fit, actually. Look at that. That's what I'm talking about. Could be snugger. No. That's a little wiggle room. But it's just going to sit on top, so it's fine if those are a little thick notches. I'll just make the subsequent notches 0.69 or 0.68. Split the difference, make it 0.685. Fine. That way, it'll sit in the leg. The walls will tack on nice and tight. So now I need double stick tape. First of all. I'm just going to use this one because it's the last one. This stuff is pretty light. Look at all this wood. We got our workbench with our spoil board on it. And you can see it's been cut on a few times. You can see actually the dog overlapping. It's the last two projects overlapping each other here. I like that. There's always a little shadow of things you've made in the past. It builds up over time. Like the wood is remembering for you things that you've done. Let me get that blade there. Alright. This tape is a lot easier to work with, but I'm also going to run out of it very quickly. Hope I have enough double stick tape. This is going to be one of those little surprise costs that I can't believe how much you spent on just that material alone over time. How much did I spend on double stick tape? Jesus. I don't think I'm going to have enough for this project. It's a good thing I have the other kind. Pull back on. Hopefully, when I pull the other board up, I can just stick the other ones down on this same tape, you know? If I'm lucky, it'll stay sticky enough that I'll be able to do all three boards with what's our time look like anyway? We're an hour in. And we got only the legs done. Jeez. Okay. Problem. Now we're gonna need a grid, so we're gonna want this to at least hang over, if not be lined up with the edge. So wow, that does not stick at all. Jeez. That's useless. Is it even touching? Okay, well, there are other approaches to these sorts of things. Careful not to clamp it in a place where I'm working. So I'll clamp it over on this end. If it'll let me clamp. Oh my god. Okay. And I just need the other clamp. That should keep it from moving. Yeah, it's pretty stable now. Okay, so let's bring this back here. Let's reuse some of this tape in places. Just drop it down randomly. And then do more tape in earnest. Oh, no, knife, that's what I was looking for. Give me your knife. Okay, so trying to mitigate tape waste, so I want to reuse as much of the tape as I can. I want to not overplace. Got a little bit of tape over here. One piece that's not good anymore, so I'm just gonna throw that down here. this off the scrap wood 2 projects ago. Not the one from the last project, because there's still a lot of good wood there, so I want to just leave that tape there. So now, got pretty good coverage. I mean, I got kind of a gap here. Drop a little more in. They don't necessarily have to be straight, the dominoes. Can do lots of little broken lines every which way, and it'll still work. So let's grab the shaper. Alright, let's picking it all up. Okay, so I think I want to do it from the other side though. Let's move it on over. Slide it on over. I'll show you the scanning process. Okay, so new scan, start scan. Okay. Should be able to put together a workspace from that, although I did shoot over the edge a little bit with the camera, so hopefully it's not a problem. It doesn't seem to like that when it can see the floor past the wood on camera. So I'm just gonna flip this back around now. Here's where the design gets a little interesting. So, see this here? From here to here is slightly less than 24 inches. So we're going to treat this like the front and the back, and this like the left and the right, so we can make it exactly 24 from here to here. So I'm going to make that the back, and I'm going to make it so that this here is where the front lines up, so that the front edge of the walls, this edge here, when they're going in, lines up here. So I need to make a cut from this edge that's 0.66 deep. I'm going to make it 0.665 or 0.67 just to be safe. 0.67, and then from this edge 0.67 from 24 inches over, and that's that quote unquote 1 inch and 1 inch, because those are actually going to be 0.67 from here to here and from here to here. And then I have to make the same thing happen. It's got to be lined up with the 23-inch line, and from this line 0.67 for the back. So that's those 3 lines. Then it's the 2x4s. That's where it starts to get a little tricky. That needs to, from the edge of the wall, come in the width, and from the edge of this wall, the height of that. So to align it with the grid, I'm actually going to just add an inch to both the width and the height and line it up with this line and this line, just the same. So it's just going to be big ol', this whole area overlapping this one and this one, as they in turn overlap one another. So we'll see how that is on the shaper. So let's get our X and Y coordinates in. So we need so as usual, we only need a 1-inch grid because everything's going to be aligned with inch points. So let's do grid. New grid. Okay, so we want 1-inch grid, new grid, and we want our fella here, plunge down, and we want to take an X point here. Point here, or better yet here. I think the farther away the better. Cancel, it has to go to the left. Okay, so I had to start there and go to the other one second. Okay, so grid, 1 inch, new grid, plunge, probe, and then we move over, slide it on over, up against the wood, as you can see, probe, and then we're here, and we probe Y. So that's our Y. Oh, this is fantastic. It gives you the numbers and everything, so you can align everything. This is going to be so easy to design. So we need first of all, we need our left side. Okay, so this is the back. Technically when it's flipped over it'll be our right, but we're calling it the left for simplicity's sake. Okay, so we need to make this groove first, and that'll be along here. And that's going to be the whole length. So we want we want a rectangle that's 0.67 inches wide, and I guess it'll be placed at 0, 0. Hmm. Yeah, it's 0, 0, alright. Look at that. You can't really look at it, but now you can. Look at that. That is 0, 0 on the screen. That is so perfect, that grid. I love this feature. Need to use it more often. But anyway, let's move the machine on a little more so we don't, drop it and lose. I can't afford to replace it. Let's see. Shapes, rectangle, width, 0.67. I should make it 0.68. Should I make it 0.68? Meh, it'll be fine. I could always hold up that piece of plywood over there after I cut that groove. So 0.67 height will be a whole 24 inches. Okay, now how do I anchor? How do I change the anchor? That's weird. Let me place the edge of it. Oh, yeah, that's right. The bottom edge. How do I change where it's anchored from? Pen, grid. Okay, there we go. I just made it a 1/2 inch grid. Problem solved. Now I go back to shapes. Rectangle, width, 0.67. Height. Because see, that's where it's anchored. It's anchored bottom middle, right? So if I make it height 24, and then I can anchor it at x.5, but I want to anchor it at y0, x.5. It's anchored in the bottom middle. So see that, and then place it. Boom. Oh, except it's not going to be lined up with that. It's not lined up with 0 anyway. Shit, how should I address that issue then? If I can't change where the shape is anchored, I thought I could. I can make it 0.5 and then set an offset. I can drag the rectangle there. Well, actually, I said it's starting point, right? So what if I just... No, that's just doing it from there. Height 24. No. No. got to be a way to change the anchor point. Holy shit, this is crazy. This has been 15 minutes I wasted. Oh, how about the pen tool? Let's see what the pen tool would do. Let's set the grid then, since we can adjust the grid, to 0.67. And then we make the pen tool go x equals 0. X equals 0.67. Y equals oh, the pen didn't actually make a shape though, did it? Oh, but now, fuck it. Oh, but it'll still do from the middle, not the end. Son of a bitch. So is there no right answer? Is there no way to get a rectangle where I want it, how I want it? This is crazy. Oh wait, I can just do start rectangle. I can just use the same grid. Okay, so I do the grid trick that I did, but I don't use the pen tool. I just do draw a rectangle in place. That way I can anchor it, because I want to anchor the corner of the rectangle to one of my grid points. 0, 0. It's not an unreasonable demand. When you place an imported image, you can change its anchor point. You get 9 choices. But for whatever reason, they decided that when you place a basic shape, you only get a center anchor point for the circle and a bottom center anchor point for rectangle. And you should never ever ever need any other anchor point for either of those two shapes that they can foresee. Well, I can foresee it. I needed it just now. You know? So problem is there's still that damn pen line there. Look at that. So it's flashing between. So at least we're at a point where we could cut this pocket. And I think I'm going to, just to get it out of the way. just to test it, and then use it to create the others. My only problem is I have no way of doing the same trick for the other rectangle. It needs to be anchored on the other side of its line. You know, this is anchored at the 0, not the 1, but that's anchored at the 24, not the 23. It's a completely different kind of anchoring. So, I'm gonna make this pocket. I'm gonna mess with the grid a bit, see what I can work out. There should be a way, though, to use the draw tool. This might go on a little while. I really need a longer hose for this vacuum, though. There we go. This is attached. Let me get eye protection and ear protection. And this is behaving very strangely. So normally, when I hit the edge of a pocket, this dot will stay here, This dot here will stay here, indicating that the cut head is staying in place while I'm moving the machine and the cut head is moving backwards. But instead, as soon as I hit the border, first of all, it's not an online cut, that's a fucking pocket cut. What is this doing? Yeah. When I hit the edge now, instead of adjusting the head, it just pulls up. I don't know what the deal is. I want to remove the other thing. I didn't want to remove the rectangle. I wanted to, there we go. I wanted to remove that. Is there an undo? Probably not. Yes, that was probably causing the issue, the pen tool. So now, let's width 0.67. Okay. No, wait. No, cancel. Rectangle. Start. I'm going to go all the way across the way. Till I hit there. Place. Now, in theory, if I come here and I go to cut and I switch to pocket and I put it on, that's useless. It's useless. How am I supposed to be able to cut along the edge of the pocket if it's no longer going to adjust the head to stay in the pocket? I don't know why it's doing this suddenly. It completely changed the way it works. The way it's been working for over a month now. Almost 2 months. It's worked a certain way. Now it decides, okay, now if you hit the edge of the pocket, it's just going to pop up. So don't touch the edge of the pocket at all. What is this? I need it to be able to hug the edge of the pocket while I run the shaper a little bit up here while the head stays down here so that it can give me a clean, smooth line. If it's going to pop up every time, first of all, it's going to take 3 fucking hours to make one pocket then. If it's going to pop up every time. What is this? Why are you doing this to me? What am I supposed to do with this nonsense? Okay, what if I switch back to design, go back to grid, make it 0.5. There, now what are you going to do? Is it that it's hitting a grid edge? That shouldn't be a problem. Oh, no. So, I guess it's just decided it's no longer going to work correctly. So I have to troubleshoot this. So, maybe I'll have more progress done by Thursday, maybe I won't, but I guess that's the end of the stream there. because I have to go and troubleshoot this new issue that just came up. Now that the shaper no longer wants to do a damn thing it's supposed to. You've seen it when I was making the circle thing. I'd go up to the edge of the pocket, you know, like so. I go up to the edge, and that little dot would be down here. The spindle would move. That's the whole point of this machine. It's not doing the entire thing that's the point of even having it. It might as well not even be. This thing might as well not have even been invented then, if it's just going to work like a regular and just only keep the spindle in the center. Okay, what if I change you? What if I change your dumbass to an inside cut? Will you agree to stay then? What if I shift? Okay, never mind. I can just do an inside cut then and then pocket, I guess. Which is incredibly stupid that I should have to do it that way. When it worked a certain way pocketing before, now just doesn't. But I guess that's what I'm doing. Okay. Since it doesn't want to cooperate and work the way it's supposed to, gonna have to work around its stupidity. This is ridiculous. What a joke. Alright, so you got the outline anyway, done. Pretty smooth. It's a little bit of chunkiness over here, but should be able to finish up this pocket now. At least do at least enough today. I'm not going over 2 hours of the stream. I'll keep working after. At least get to the point today where you can see what the top should look like. Okay, so now once I get my table saw situation sorted out, tracks like this are going to be cut on that going forward. It's a pain to do all this as the plunge router, what I could have done in 3 or 4 passes over a table saw real quick. But I need, you know, a new fence, among other things. So it's sort of not good for precision work at the moment. It's back there though. I need to get sandpaper and just work this down over here real quick. Alright, that should be good. Work that over here. Yeah, it's got to be ground down a bit. There. But now you'll be able to see this is tools. Oh my goodness. Look at that. Look at that. Look at that. That's what we're going for here. On either side. That's the idea. Now I'm using the 1/8 inch bit on the top and bottom just because I have these square areas I gotta cut out for the legs. But once I get through the top and bottom, I'm switching to the 1/4 inch because that track there could have been cut in 3 passes as opposed to 7 or 8 if I was using the appropriate bit. Even if I'm not using a table saw, I'm using a plunge router for something that you should use a table saw for. If I was at least using the wider bit, that still fits perfectly in. 0.67, 0.25 is still less. It would get the job done. And considering you have to go past the edge, you don't have to worry about the corners being too rounded, because you're going off anyway. The 1/4 inch bit would have made much quicker work of this than the 1/8 inch. What are we at? Hour. I don't like going past 2 hours. It can be helped. So, what we're going to do is we're going to work out some design steps now, real quick. Pop out the vacuum, switch to design mode. Gonna get our power cord out of there. Really should get an extension cord for this. Now, I just had another idea, although, no, it'll work. So what we could do is, first of all, I'd want to eventually cut off. Another reason I'm using the 1/8 is this will be exactly 24 inches because I'm going to do an outside cut on the rectangle I make here, just on this line. And we're going to lose, you know, 1/8 of an inch off of here, so it's going to be just shy of 24 by just shy of 24. But it's the bottom, so it's not going to matter. That'll get eaten up in other ways anyway. So if I draw a rectangle from here to here, and then I do an offset by 0.17 that away, it'll actually allow me to, so that's how I should do it. I should make 1/2 inch wide rectangles and then just do an offset when actually cutting to get the rest of my distance. That way I don't have to worry about finding some grid interval that's divisible in such a way that I can have a 0.67 rectangle that's anchored at a multiple of 1 or 0.5 inches. I'll just use offsets. So, shapes, rectangle, start rectangle, width -0.5. Get the cord off. And just go around. Do a little dance here. And it'll offset in every direction, but I don't care about these two directions. And all I have to do is not cut on this side where it's offset and only cut over here. So I would do the whole thing straight up. You know, get this side flush with where I want it. Then do the offset and cut this side of it out to where I want it. Look at this. Inside cut, and then the separate I switch to an outside cut. So I do an inside cut, then I offset it, do the inside cut of just this side, then offset 0.17, and then it's here where I want it, and I just won't cut back here. So I set it to 0 for now, and that's the way you do it. But let's see if it'll let me bump. Pocket. See, touch. No, I don't need the Z-touch again. Okay, so for whatever reason, bumping is now a thing again. So you saw that, right? It didn't give me an error and retract on its own. I bumped the edge of the shape, it held the spindle in place, and there was no issue. Like it's supposed to work. So this will be easy now that I don't have to worry about, because now I don't even have to do the outside cuts. I'll just pocket how I want. I'll just skip right to pocketing how I want to pocket without any issues. So I'm gonna work on getting the top and bottom pieces cut today. Get them knocked out. Break for lunch first. Should be quicker without having to stop and explain. And then on Thursday, I'll cut the walls in the back. In fact, with the top and bottom done, should I start gluing? No, I don't think so. So this will be a 2-week project probably, because then we'll go over gluing next Monday. But you got the idea. Hold on. So that's it. We got 1 track cut. We'll have the other 2 cut. We'll have the holes for the legs cut by the end of today, as well as this cut to shape. This won't involve any pocketing. This will be a matter of just cutting the plus sign so that it hangs into the legs by 1/4 inch. So what that's going to look like is it's got to go 1/4 inch past the legs too. So these are the legs. Then not 1/4 inch. And it'll actually overlap by 1/4 inch. So it'll look like this. That right there. So that'll be fun. And that'll be an interesting bit of math. So we'll see how it comes out on Thursday.